Security. Security was the main cause of displacement for the Syrian people. The people literally fled to save their lives. Yes, social factors like their family or their community living did play a role. Yes, the deteriorating economic and living conditions did play a role. However, it was the fear for their lives and the lives of their loved ones that forced the Syrian people to be displaced. Security remains the main cause for displacement of Syrians throughout the years. It is primarily the Syrian regime's repression, mass arrests, torture, and forced conscription, which then moved to the wholesale destruction of civilian areas in cities and towns under the control of the opposition, not to mention the rise of ISIS and the recent onslaught on Idlib. It is enormously important to understand the reality in considering the current situation of the displaced Syrians. They are not migrants. They are refugees who fled for the fear of their lives. And it's even more important to understand the solution. The people cannot and will not return unless the security reasons for their displacement are addressed. The Syrian regime was the main driver of displacement throughout the years and in different forms. It is important not to forget that the displacement continued even after the Syrian regime gained control over most of the country. And the so-called reconciliation agreements, such as that one in Daraa, failed to stop repression, arrests, and harassment, but it in fact resulted in renewed cycles of violence. Our previous research clearly indicated that the displaced people who were forced to return from displacement to regime-held areas were again fleeing using smuggler networks, trying to reach safety in neighboring countries and even in Europe. So there are also other factors that contributed to the displacement of the Syrian people, including the rise of ISIS or people fleeing from opposition-held or SDF-held areas, overwhelmingly for security reasons, to save their lives, or simply to avoid threats and discrimination. However, the Syrian regime remains by far the main driver for displacement across the country and all over the years of the conflict. 56% of the interviewees were displaced from areas under the control of the Syrian regime or fled while the Syrian regime forces were conquering these areas during the conflict. The remainder of the participants includes 19% who fled from areas under the opposition control, 16% of those who fled areas under ISIS control, 5% of those who fled areas under the SDF control, and 4% of those who fled areas under Haya Atassi al-Sham control. The people really fled in all directions. Some went to Turkey, others were displaced inside Syria, but they also went to Lebanon and to neighboring countries in the region. There are 1 million people who reached Europe, primarily Germany, and others went as far as the United States and other Western countries. It is of great importance for the public in different countries hosting the Syrian refugees to understand the reasons why these people fled, in order for them to address the problems of dehumanization and hostility towards these Syrian refugees in some of these countries.